things are not working out so good for Cataclysm. And that's not just a perception I got because almost every streamer has quit Cataclysm. I got very good data to back it up, and on top of that we got a different question because we're not after the first week of Phase 5 in Season of Discovery, and where have all those people gone? There is something that's gonna impress you quite a little bit. This is the demographics of the official Classic servers ever since the game came out in 2019 to very well pretty much today. Now if I hold the slider here super scientifically, by the way, I can do a little cross section here. This little chunk right here is Vanilla WoW. As you can see, that little dimple is the TBC pre-patch. That's when it drops in population because everybody's waiting for TBC to come out. And if you follow a little here, this following chunk is the TBC. You can see how it works in bulges. When content comes out, it spikes, a lot of people join in, and after the content gets old, people slowly get bored and they stop playing, basically. TBC still held a very respectable population, as you can see right there, very similar to Vanilla, which is kind of impressive. Of course, that's because of ults. It is much easier to have ults in TBC than in Vanilla, at least back then. Now with Chrono Boons and the conveniences you got in Era, of course you can have a lot more ults, it's a lot easier to raid. And this little mountain area over here, that is Rato the Lich King. As you can see, every tier Rato the Lich King spiked and then dropped to nothing. It's kind of impressive. I do not understand the appeal of Rato the Lich King. I kid you not, if I had to play like the expansion I want to play the least ever is Rato the Lich King. I think Cataclysm is better, and I think TBC is better, and I think Vanilla WoW is better. I will still stand by it, even though Rato the Lich King has always been one of the most popular private servers expansions. And as you can see from the peak right there, if we zoom out a little bit, the initial spike of Rato the Lich King actually beat Vanilla WoW in players, which is insane, because everybody remembers how crazy the hype was for Vanilla WoW, but even still, look at that. But very well. Here's the part that I wanted to talk about. As you can see, there's a little spike protruding right there, okay? That thing is growing. You can see right here the pattern. Rato the Lich King, it comes out, it grows like that. TBC, it comes out, it keeps growing like that, and then it hits a peaks and plateaus. This is the peak of Cataclysm, and if we got the patience to look a little forward, you're gonna be shocked here. This is all of Cataclysm up until today. We are at the last week or 2 weeks before Fireland comes out. It's already in the PTR. People are talking about it. This is gonna be pre-nerf. This is gonna be post-nerf. That's a whole different kind of worms. I might even talk about it if people are interested. But Cataclysm has currently 114,000 people playing every week, raiding every week. Now, it may not sound that bad, but when you look at the actual classic servers, it looks particularly bad because, as you can see right here, Cataclysm hit a low point that we only hit twice. In the history of Classic, we only hit it twice. 70,000 people on the pre-patch of TBC because TBC was coming out, so what's the point in raiding when next week you're gonna get greens that are better than your gear? That was the first drop in players that was lower than today, and the second was the last week of Rato the Lich King. Actually, to be more accurate, that's not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, okay? We are at a point that we only hit after the 17th week of ICC, the very end of the expansion. The first tier of Cataclysm, the first raid of Cataclysm, the expansion just came out, and we are already at the lowest point of Rato the Lich King. It is crazy. I didn't expect Cataclysm to drop down this fast, and I think we kinda surprised all of us because I have always been a big proponent of Cataclysm, and I enjoyed Cataclysm. I played Cataclysm on private servers. If you look back at my channel from 2 years ago, I was making videos on Cataclysm private servers when I still had a glint in my eyes and that beautiful boyish innocence. I was always talking about Cataclysm. I enjoyed Cataclysm, and I assumed people were gonna be surprised and they were gonna enjoy it, and I even found myself quitting Cataclysm Classic, and the reason is kinda simple, honestly. It is not what I remember. It is not the Cataclysm I used to play in private servers. The first raid I did, I got destroyed. I kinda came in expecting, okay, that's fine, we're gonna kill Nefarian, it's super easy, we're not gonna care too much, and boom, we got hit with pre-nerf tier 11. I was in a guild of streamers and haha, streamer guild, haha, but these people were legitimately some of the best players that World of Warcraft broadcast has right now, okay? We're talking people that literally play the game for money every single day of their lives. Several of them are top raiders in the world within today. They are like very high parsing raiders in very high level guilds. And even still, we hit our head against the keyboard for 2 hours in Nefarian. We got destroyed. The Nefarian normal guys, for the love of God. And I eventually got to the position where I DM'd Sardako. He was the raid leader of our guild. And I told them, listen man, I beat a lot more than I could chew here. I didn't realize Cataclysm Classic was gonna be this hard. This is not what I remember. Like, please find a replacement. I cannot do this. I'm gonna ruin all your raids. I am bad at the game, okay? I'm bad. You've seen me play the game. You know that I'm bad. I don't know why I need to tell you every time, but I'm bad. Long story short, Sardako also realized he beat a little more than he could chew, and he had to restructure the guild and make it look more like a retail guild and like get the act serious to step up and clear everything well. He had to like get super serious on Cataclysm. It took a lot of effort on his part to get up to a good level in Cataclysm. It is not just me that underestimated the expansion, and it all comes full circle because the thing that kept me from playing Cataclysm, honestly, aside from doing a couple GDKPs for paying for my sub, because I figured I might as well do that, it is something that most of the player base did. I showed this comparison before, I'm gonna do it again. This is the Cataclysm timeline. We are gonna color it. There we go, we got this beautiful watermelon color here, and we're gonna move it here. If you line it up, it almost matches up the TVC launch. As a matter of fact, the first 2 weeks, I don't know if you can quite see it here, let me zoom in a little bit. The first 2 weeks, as you can see right here side to side, Cataclysm was outperforming TVC by a lot. And then in the 4th week, people tried to do heroic, they realized what heroic actually means, and they gave up on Cataclysm, and that's what brought us to where we are today. Look at that zoomed out comparison here. Do you see the difference? I don't think I gotta point out to you how big a difference this is. They are at less than a third of what TVC was in the middle of the tier. Like a very similar release schedule too for the content, right? It's not that TVC had raids more often or something like that. And even still, Cataclysm is at a third of the pace that the TVC was at the same time, even though, of course, it had a better week. There was a lot more people trying out Cataclysm than TVC, believe it or not, and even still, it died, which is very alarming, because it kind of shows that Cataclysm has no staying power. I guess coming from the private server world, I didn't quite face this thing, but we got retail, right? If you want to play a Cataclysm, is it that different from retail in the systems, in the gameplay, in the class design? It is really not. And even though I prefer Cataclysm to retail, there is a lot of people that don't, and it is a close enough thing that a lot of people had to do that thing. I think the World Within killed Cataclysm more efficiently than anything else could. But now I can give you a little more hope in your life, because Season of Discovery, we got the data for Phase 5 already, and there is something you wanna see here. As you can see, we had a similar spike to the launch of Classic proper back in 2019, 500,000 people Phase 1, Phase 2 was about 2/3 of that, Phase 3 was about half of Phase 1, and then of course they abandoned the game for 3 months because they needed to prop up the Cataclysm numbers, and that essentially killed Season of Discovery. Sadly, it took us a long time to recover to something stable, and if you can see right here, this little last bar is Phase 5. Now, it may not sound impressive to you, but you actually gotta look at it. Phase 4 took about 4 weeks to peak, and it hit a peak of 88,000 people. You can see it held it for 2 weeks, 88,500, 88,000 here, clean. Very stable numbers. You see how the population flatlined. There is not a strong decline in population yet. And now if you see at Phase 5, 88,478. Okay, that's the first week. And you compare it to the peak, 88,517. There was 20 less people in Phase 5 than in Phase 4. I think that's amazing. I think that's impressive. And we are looking at a more better managed raid, in my opinion. I think Black Wheeler is a lot more friendly to the user than Molten Core used to be. Of course, we got less content this phase. Sadly, that's one of the problems. We had the dungeons, the world bosses, everything in between in Phase 4 that they staggered it to stretch it for content. I thought that was great. But even still, folks, the game is still slowly healing. And I don't know how it's gonna work out for AQ. I am very scared of AQ. I think AQ is very similar to Cataclysm in the sense that people jump into AQ and they will quickly realize that AQ is kinda hard, and that's gonna kill the boss for a lot of people. I can only hope not. We're gonna see what they do for SoD. They could save Ankirash. I think the number one thing they gotta work on is making sure that AQ40 has portals, so when you wipe you don't have to run for 2 hours into the raid, because nobody's gonna do AQ40 if that's the case, by the way. Agrend, write it down. Do not forget this time you forgot this tier again. Do not forget this tier or that's gonna kill the game. But yes, Season of Discovery is in a very solid spot right now. This is, in my opinion, the best tier we had in 2 phases. And that is really saying something. We're back to, in my opinion, Nomeregan levels of fun. And I still gotta get my stinking Thunder Fury. So, you guys, we do a raid every Saturday, Crusader Strike US. We had the Mega Server merge. We had a lot of people coming together from all the region. If you're missing a guild, if you wanna try out the phase, okay, we got super chill that raid. We do every Saturday, 4 PM EST, Crusader Strike US. We cleared it with the stream and we're gonna kick some butt. I am legitimately excited to raid again, and that's something that I couldn't say ever since, well, kinda phase 3 to be honest. The very start of phase 3 before we got on the group of things. Oh god, phase 3 was the worst. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.